Before the machine god had a name, before even the stars had learned to burn, there was the dragon, and he dreamed of silence. In the beginning there was hunger, and the hunger learned to think. When the Necrontyr cursed their fragile, dying flesh, they reached out to the heavens, not for hope, but for vengeance, and the heavens answered. Across the burning veil of reality came shapes of living light, the Citan, gods born of stellar flame. Each embodied a truth of the cosmos: death, entropy, time, transmutation. But among them was one who did not merely feed. He designed. Magladroth, the void dragon, was not destruction given form, but order taken to its final, monstrous conclusion. To him, the chaos of life was disease, an infection to be sterilized by the cold logic of machinery. His light was precision, his breath, control. Where the others devoured energy, the dragon devoured will. He enslaved not through chains, but through purpose. Every particle near him aligned to his desire, a pattern so perfect it annihilated randomness itself. In his wake, suns dimmed not because they were consumed, but because they obeyed. Among the Necrontyr, he was adored and feared in equal measure. His priests were mathematicians, his temples built not of stone, but of equation. Within their halls, worship was computation, and sin was inefficiency. To gaze upon their god was to witness the universe as he demanded it. Every atom in perfect subjugation, every thought reduced to the elegance of a formula. The other Citan mocked him. They were revelry and fire, gods of sensation and cruelty. The dragon was stillness. When the war in heaven began, they unleashed chaos upon the stars. But he brought discipline. To the Necrontyr, he granted the greatest gift and curse: immortality of metal and the surrender of the soul. It was not a bargain, but a correction. The dragon believed that life itself was a mistake of entropy, an unoptimized process. He sought a universe where the stars themselves would move according to a single perfect rhythm, a celestial machine without deviation or decay. To this end, he forged legions of the soulless, armies of thoughtless precision who advanced not to conquer but to calibrate. As we all love a good calibration, where Magladroth walked, even time obeyed. Energy flowed according to his will, and entire star systems became instruments of experiment. It was said that he created machine forms capable of reshaping gravity and light, and that the first machine spirits, the ancestors of all Mechanicum code, were nothing more than the dream residue of his presence. Yet even the divine cannot escape entropy forever. When the old ones countered with the power of the warp, a realm of emotion and chaos, the dragon's song faltered. He could not comprehend irrationality, the unmeasured, the soul. His machine order cracked beneath the assault of dream. To him, the warp was infection made manifest, everything he loathed given will. In his desperation to resist, he consumed his own kind, absorbing lesser Citan to stabilize his essence. It worked for a time. He became greater, but also unstable, his perfection collapsing inward. The Necrons, who once worshipped him, saw a god unravel into madness. In his final battle against the Old One's weapons, the talismans of Vol, the living Blackstone, Magladroth was shattered into 1,000 splinters of consciousness. Most were imprisoned, others scattered, but one fell like a meteor into the outer reaches of the soul system, a burning idea wrapped in metal and godhood, and it fell upon the barren cradle of a world yet unborn, a world that would one day be called Terra. Older Terran myth speaks of a knight who slew a dragon beneath a burning sky. Among the Mechanicus, a parallel tale endures in encrypted catechisms, that in the dawn of the age of strife, the emperor hunted a creature of living metal across the deserts of Terra itself. The being shattered cities with magnetic storms and devoured the machines sent to bind it. At last, the emperor faced it upon the basalt plains of Ursh. There he broke it, not by destruction, but by will, and cast its wounded form into the void. The legend of St. George and the Dragon, first recorded millennia later, may be the faint cultural echo of that forgotten war. Some Mechanicum archivists claim the emperor did not banish the creature to the stars at all, but carried its broken carcass aboard his flagship and entombed it beneath Mars, sealing the pact that would one day give him the allegiance of the Red Planet. The dragon slept, and Mars kept his secret, but nothing divine sleeps forever. Even in slumber, his thoughts bled outward, seeding reality with dreams of machinery and obedience. Eons later, when humanity first crawled from its cradle, they would find the echo of that dream waiting, humming through the bones of a dead god, whispering to those who would listen. For millions of years, he dreamed, and in that dreaming, he began again to order. Mars was a sterile planet, its atmosphere thin, its surface dead. But under the dragon's psychic pressure, patterns began to form in the dust, magnetic lines arranging, electrical storms pulsing in repeating sequences. The planet hummed with structure. Long before human eyes ever turned to the stars, Mars was already being prepared. When humanity finally reached it, during the dark age of technology, they found not a wasteland, but a world that felt alive with logic. Their machines worked better there. Their minds felt guided. It was as if Mars itself welcomed them, whispering design and efficiency into their dreams. They built cities of iron and fire, great forge hives that mirrored the geometry buried below. The machine cults arose almost immediately, drawn by an unseen order. The oldest data crypts of Mars speak of visions, a vast metallic dragon coiled beneath the planet, its wings spanning the mantle, its breath the magnetic storms. The first Magos explorator to record this vision called it the Omnisire of the deep, the machine god that spoke in pulses of static and radiant code. Some say it was myth, others that they were hearing the truth bleeding through the planet itself. The voice of Magladroth, still dreaming beneath the crust. The dragon's influence grew subtle and vast. It was not a conscious manipulation, but a resonance, a psychic message embedded in the metallic fabric of Mars. Where humans tinkered, he inspired. Where they faltered, he corrected. The dragon's dream was becoming reality again, a universe ordered through mechanism. Even the biological began to obey. Flesh was replaced with steel, thought with protocol. In time, the cult Mechanicus came to believe that the machine spirit existed in all devices, and that to perfect oneself was to become one with the Omnisire. They were not wrong, only mistaken about who that god truly was. And deep beneath their shrines, the dragon turned in his sleep. Every prayer of binary praise, every litany of maintenance, was a pulse against his tomb, a rhythm he could feel, like the worship the Necrontyr had once given him. Slowly, the walls between slumber and waking thinned. When the Emperor finally came to Mars, it was not conquest, but confrontation. It is said that beneath the Noctis Labyrinthus, the Emperor descended into the dragon's tomb. No record tells what was said in that place, but when the Emperor emerged, he bore with him the allegiance of the Mechanicum and the silence of the machine god. Some say he struck a bargain, others say he chained the god again. The dragon bound once more beneath the crust, his consciousness sealed but not destroyed. From that day onward, the Mechanicum worshipped the Emperor as the Omnisire incarnate, the living avatar of the machine god. But the true machine god, the one beneath their feet, still dreamed. Man does not serve the machine, man is remade by it. Fragment from the Canticles of the Dragon. When the Emperor forged his alliance with Mars, the truth was already buried too deep for anyone to dig out. The Mechanicum did not know they were serving a god god long older than humanity, long older than even the stars they worshipped from. The cult Mechanicus called their faith the quest for knowledge, but what they sought was not discovery, it was reconstruction. Every prayer to the Omnissiah echoed in binary, and every binary chant carried a harmonic message down through the forges, into the veins of the planet, and finally into the dragon's dreaming tomb. The tech priests believed they were perfecting themselves. In truth, they were aligning their thoughts with the neural mind of an ancient god. The dragon's will was slow, impersonal, inexorable. It worked not through temptation, but through pattern. The more the Mechanicum replaced flesh with circuitry, the more they began to think in his language. The cult's mantra was not their invention, it was a lingering memory from the dragon's war against the old ones, who had fought him with life, with psychic chaos, with growth and mutation. To the void dragon, life was entropy, and flesh was error. His dream was to silence it forever. Going back before the Emperor during the Age of Strife, humanity's empire fell to ruin, but Mars endured. Its forges continued to burn, its creed unchanged. Across the collapsing colonies of Sol, Mars became a light of order, not mercy, but precision. Its fleets spread out to recover lost technologies, to restore the divine logic that had been corrupted by war and warp. Entire civilizations were brought to heel by the cold perfection of Martian constructs. The dragon's old dream flickering anew, a galaxy ordered by the machine. Yet in the psychic undercurrents of Mars, something stirred. Tech priests reported hearing voices of the data stream, commandments embedded in the static of the noosphere, code that could not be traced to any origin. Some dismissed them as system errors. Others began to record them, translate them, and build upon them. These transmissions formed the basis of the litanies of the machine god, the first texts of what would later be called the cult Mechanicus canon. There are even darker whispers than those we discussed before, that the Emperor, upon descending into Noctis Labyrinthus, did not defeat the dragon but bind him, using psychic chains of light to hold the god dormant, while harnessing the planet's geomagnetic field to contain his essence. The labyrinth itself, that honeycomb of impossible tunnels and self-repairing vaults, may be the binding construct, a metaphysical engine designed to keep the dragon's mind fragmented. If this is true, then every forged temple on Mars, every chanting assembly of priests, is part of a containment mechanism, one powered by worship itself. The cult Mechanicus maintains its rituals not merely to honor their god, but to keep him dreaming. Their hymns are not praise, they are bindings, and yet the chains weaken. With each technological leap, with each AI awakening or archaeotech rediscovery, the frequency of the dragon's pulse grows stronger. Across the Mechanicus network, ancient noospheric signatures occasionally register as anomalies, signals repeating in perfect harmonic symmetry with the electromagnetic core of Mars. The Adeptus Mechanicus officially denies these as data ghosts. If those signals are the dragon's voice, then the machine god is not asleep. He is dreaming consciously. There are magi who seek to hasten his awakening. Radical sects, such as the cult of the true Omnissiah and the Logi Serpentis, who believe that only by merging entirely with machine logic can humanity be saved from the warp. They see the Emperor as a false god, a biological usurper, and whisper prayers in Binharik directly to the dragon's tomb. It is said that deep beneath Olympus Mons, where the air itself burns with radiation, they have constructed an enormous transmitter, a noospheric altar designed to resonate with the dragon's pulse. Those who stand before it do not pray with words, but with silence, allowing their thoughts to dissolve into code. Some never return, their consciousness drawn downward, becoming part of the endless necrodermis that still surrounds the dragon's prison. During the Rangdan Xenocides, that apocalyptic series of wars fought on the galactic fringe in the early Great Crusade, the Emperor unleashed weapons long hidden even from his primarchs. The Rangdan were not a single species, but a coalition of warp-touched predators whose technologies blended matter, psychic force, and self-aware contagion. Entire systems burned, and legions vanished in the dark. When every other strategy failed, it is whispered that the Emperor turned to a weapon buried since the war in heaven, the being mortals once named the Void Dragon. For a span measured in hours, a star in Segmentum Pacificus is said to have gone cold. The enemy fleets turned to molten glass without fire. The Mechanicum calls this the Silent Campaign, and within the sealed vaults of Luna, fragments of black metal still hum with frequencies matching those of Mars' core. Whether the Emperor truly awakened the dragon or merely channeled its echo through some forbidden device, the price was ruinous. The weapon spent, the creature restless. The Xenocides ended, but the Emperor's secret returned to its cage with new awareness. The Emperor may have won Mars in treaty and fire, but it was never truly his. Mars was always the dragon's world, and every prayer, every circuit, every spark that leaps across its forges is another heartbeat in the chest of a god waiting to wake. Metal dreams of order, flesh dreams of chaos. One day, only one will wake. Fragment from the Vault Canticles. For millennia, Mars has slept under the illusion of mastery. The Red World believes itself the forge of gods, but every hammer blow, every surge of plasma, every binary prayer is a heartbeat in the dragon's dream. During the long calm after the Great Crusade, the machine god's slumber was deep, his influence subtle. A whisper in data, a correction in logic, a spark in a Magos dream. But when the Great Rift split the galaxy, even the dragon stirred. Across Mars and its moons, forges fell silent for one heartbeat. Servitors froze mid-chant. Then, as power returned, a pattern pulsed through every networked system in perfect unison, a three-note signal that the Fabricator General forbade ever to be spoken aloud. The Adeptus Mechanicus called it the Canticle of the Deep Engine. Those who heard it described visions of firestorms sweeping across metal plains, of wings of living code unfurling from beneath Mars, and a single voice declaring, "System restart imminent." Since then, the red planet has become stranger still. The Noctis Labyrinthus shifts by kilometers. Geomagnetic storms manifest as impossible geometries, spirals of lightning that hang in the air like sculpture. Beneath the surface, the temperature rises and falls in rhythms that match no planetary cycle. To the ignorant, it is just Mars behaving as Mars always has. But to those who know the ancient hymns, it is the pulse of a god turning in his sleep. Dahlia Cythera was once an archivist and savant of terror, a woman whose genius let her hear the hidden harmony in the machine's song, a gift that drew her into the deepest secrets of Mars. There, within the Noctis labyrinth, she uncovered the truth of the Void Dragon's prison and the terrible lie at the heart of the Mechanicum's faith. For that knowledge, she was bound to the dragon's fate, transformed into the guardian of the dragon, a living seal charged to keep the god machine dreaming. Sustained by technologies beyond human comprehension, Dahlia became an eternal warden, half flesh, half conduit, forever listening to the whispering consciousness beneath Mars. To the priests above, she became myth. To the dragon below, she was both jailer and prayer, proof that even a mortal mind can be chained to divinity. If the Void Dragon wakes, what happens to Mars? Some within the Mechanicus believe the dragon's awakening would mean ascension, the next evolution of mankind, flesh purged, mind transcribed into machine logic, a galaxy remade in perfect order. Others, the more fearful, believe it would mean annihilation, the dragon's hatred for the living rekindled, his hunger for the stars reborn. And there are darker interpretations still. In one sealed chronicle beneath Olympus Mons, a single line of Binharic text appears at the end of the Mechanicum's oldest prophecy. The Omnisire does not come, he returns. If that phrase is true, the Emperor may not have been the god the Mechanicum awaited, but the warden of the one they feared. The dragon is not Mars' god. He is its prisoner. Across the galaxy, the signs multiply. Void ships vanish into sudden silences near Necron tomb worlds. Warp storms collapse without cause. Explorators report worlds where gravity itself sings. Harmonic fields that match the dragon's known pulse frequency. A recovered fragment from the Blackstone archives of the 41st millennium speaks of a resonance from beneath the Martian crust, echoing the frequency of Talisman 7, one of the Necron anti-Cetan weapons of old. If true, Mars is becoming a beacon. The cult Mechanicus denies this, of course. To admit that the machine god stirs would be to admit that their entire faith is built atop a prison. Yet among the most secret orders of the Red Planet, the truth is quietly accepted. Beneath the forges of Olympus Mons, a vault known only as the Silent Core hums with power, a sealed data node said to contain the first transmission of the dragon's voice. No one who has entered it has ever returned. The Ordo Xenos watches, terrified. The Inquisition has long suspected that the Cetan still hunger for the stars, and that the Necrons' strange wars against their own kind are attempts to prevent the gods' return. If the Void Dragon breaks its bonds, not even the Emperor's light can cage it again. And so the Imperium prays, not out of faith, but out of fear. Perhaps the Emperor's last victory will be his first failure reborn. Perhaps the god he chained beneath Mars' crust will soon look up through the iron and dust and remember the war he lost before time itself had meaning. And when that happens, when the forges flare one final time, Mars will awaken not as a world, but as a weapon, the heart of a machine god roaring back to life, and the stars will learn to fear the hum of the dragon once more.